This happened a few weeks ago. I'm 32, and I'd just moved into a small apartment on the top floor of a plain brick building. I wanted peace after leaving my chaotic job. The first few nights were quiet. I thought everything was going well until something changed. On my second night, I lay in bed feeling tired but restless. I heard scratching sounds in the walls. At first it was faint. I figured it was just the building settling, maybe old pipes. I tried to ignore it and go to sleep, but the scratching got louder. A chill ran down my spine. I wanted to be brave, so I closed my eyes and tried to dismiss it. Days passed. The scratching didn't stop. I started hearing giggles echoing through the empty hallways. It felt like children were playing somewhere nearby. I never saw anyone, though. I peeked out my door a few times but found nothing. Just silence. I wondered if there were kids upstairs. It made my heart race. One evening I was winding down from a long day. I caught a glimpse of something moving down the corridor from the corner of my eye. My heart skipped a beat. I quickly turned my head, but there was nothing there. Just the dull beige walls and creaky floorboards. I thought maybe I was imagining things. Still, I felt uneasy. That night I stayed in and tried to focus on work. The scratching returned, but this time it felt more intense. It sounded like something was trying to get out. I could hardly concentrate. My fingers fluttered over the keyboard, but my mind was only on those noises, which were joined by that disconcerting giggle. It burrowed under my skin. I started to dread nightfall. I convinced myself it was just stress, but the noise was too consistent. One night, I decided to open the window. Fresh air would help, I thought. As I leaned out, I heard a voice whisper clearly, "Megan." I froze. I was alone. After that, the unsettling giggles and scratching grew louder and more chaotic. It felt like they were swirling around my apartment, invading my thoughts. I sat in my small space, feeling colder by the second. I felt trapped, like the walls were closing in. Was I really alone? Then one night I saw it again. A shadow crossed my bedroom door. I wanted to scream, but my voice wouldn't come. I just stared. My heart raced like it was trying to escape my chest. I didn't know what to do. It was dark, and I felt frozen in place. I still question those nights. Was it real? Was it all in my head? I can still hear the scratching sometimes, feel that chill creeping back when night falls. I never really understood what was happening, and I still don't. Each sound echoes in my mind. I wonder if I was ever truly alone, or if something sinister was at play. The next day, I felt exhausted but knew I couldn't let the fear take over. I decided it was time to talk to someone. I needed answers. I went downstairs to speak with the landlord, hoping he could shed some light on the strange noises. Mr. Jensen was an older man, stooped with age and burdened with stories. He'd been there for years, and I thought he might know something. I knocked on his door, and he answered cautiously, his eyes scanning me with curiosity. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice low, almost a whisper. "I've been hearing strange noises in my apartment," I said, trying to sound casual, but feeling the weight of my unease. "Scratching and laughing." He stiffened at the mention of laughter. "Ah, yes," he said slowly. "The building has its quirks." "What do you mean?" I pressed him. His expression darkened. "Years ago there was a family here. They lost a child," he said. "Some say the child never left." His words chilled me. Was it possible? Did I really hear the laughter of a child? I didn't want to believe it, yet the chill in my bones made me feel otherwise. "I suggest you keep the door locked at night," he added, his voice even lower, "and avoid the attic." "Why?" I asked, puzzled. "It's better that way," he replied, looking away. That night, I found myself staring at the ceiling, heart hammering in my chest. The scratching was relentless, like fingernails dragging across wood. I tried to block it out, but the laughter returned, soft and haunting. Suddenly, I thought of the attic. I remembered the door down the hall that led to it, but I had ignored it until now. What was up there? I found myself drawn to it, a mix of dread and curiosity swirling in my gut. I crept out of bed, clutching my phone like a lifeline. The hallway was cloaked in darkness, but I pressed on, every step echoing in the eerie silence. As I reached the door to the attic, I could hear the scratching escalate like a desperate plea. My heart raced, thoughts spiraling. Should I open it? Part of me wanted to flee, to retreat to the safety of my apartment, but another part, the part driven by fear and curiosity, pushed me forward. I hesitated, hand trembling on the cold doorknob. That's when I heard it again, louder this time. "Megan!" I gasped, and the fear turned palpable. Before I could think, I swung the door open. The attic was dark and musty, filled with shadows that danced as I entered. I peered inside, the scratching drowning out my thoughts. Then, in the corner, I spotted something moving, a flicker of white in the darkness. That's when I saw it. It was a small figure, no taller than a child. My breath caught in my throat. I stepped closer, straining to see through the dim light. The figure turned slowly, revealing a face that sent chills down my spine. It was pale, almost featureless, except for wide, dark eyes that seemed to absorb the light around them. "Megan," it whispered again, the voice sweet and innocent, yet laced with an unshakable dread. I took a step back, heart racing, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. My mind screamed for me to run, but I was rooted in place. "Who are you?" I finally managed to ask, my voice shaking. The figure stayed silent, staring at me with an intensity that felt like ice on my skin. The scratching intensified, echoing off the attic walls, creating a symphony of panic. Then, without warning, it darted into the shadows, disappearing from sight. I stumbled backward, nearly losing my balance. Had I imagined it? No, the laughter rang in my ears, a chilling reminder that I wasn't alone. "Mr. Jensen said to avoid the attic," I thought, panic surging. But it was too late for that now. I was already in too deep. I felt like I needed answers, but every instinct told me to get out. Before I could move, a loud bang reverberated through the attic, jolting me back to reality. Something or someone was up here with me. Instinct kicked in, and I rushed out, slamming the door behind me. My heart pounded in my chest as I leaned against the door, gasping for air. I had to think clearly. What just happened? Was it a ghost? A figment of my imagination? My phone buzzed in my pocket, cutting through my thoughts. I fished it out, half expecting to see someone messaging me about normal life distractions. Instead, it wasn't a message. The screen lit up with the time, 3 a.m. I had lost track of time. Suddenly a series of loud thuds came from the attic, followed by a soft voice calling out, "Megan!" That voice, how did it know my name? I froze, dread pooling in my stomach. What kind of entity was this? I stumbled back toward my apartment, fear clawing at my throat. I had to make sense of this, but it all felt so surreal. Once inside, I turned the locks and closed the curtains tight. Even with the apartment secure, the laughter echoed in my mind, taunting me. I needed help. I had to face whatever this was. But was I really ready to confront it? In the back of my mind, something else stirred, a deep-rooted instinct that urged me to search for the truth. I remembered what Mr. Jensen had told me about the child that had never left. I couldn't let fear dictate my next move. But just as that thought crossed my mind, I heard another noise, this time from the living room, a soft tapping, like tiny fingers on glass. I took a deep breath, heart racing again, preparing to confront whatever was waiting for me. I walked forward, each step heavier than the last, not knowing what awaited beyond that door. As I reached for the doorknob, everything plunged into silence. I paused, uncertain, and whispered, "What do you want?" In that instant, the lights flickered and went out completely. I stood in the pitch-black room, the darkness swallowing every trace of light. My heart hammered in my chest, louder than the silence surrounding me. I fumbled for my phone, its soft glow the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. I swiped the screen, revealing the time, 3:01 a.m., and the bright white light cast haunting shadows on my walls. Just a power outage, I muttered to myself, but my voice sounded far away, swallowed by the void. I took a shaky breath, hoping to calm the anxious buzzing in my head. The tapping from the living room had stopped, but a new sound emerged, a low, eerie hum, as if something was moving in the dark. "Get a grip, Megan," I whispered, edging towards the living room. Each step felt like walking on a tightrope, balancing between fear and resolve. I wasn't sure if I wanted to believe I was alone anymore. As I entered the room, I noticed the curtains were still drawn tight. I cursed under my breath, fumbling to find the light switch. Just as I reached out, the hum escalated into a soft weeping. The sound sent chills down my spine, echoing off the walls, pulling me closer with a gravitational pull I didn't understand. "Megan!" the voice called out again, sweet yet laced with despair. I inhaled sharply, stepping backward instinctively. It sounded like the figure, but this time it was tinged with something more, a plea for help. I felt an overwhelming urge to respond. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice quivering. "What do you need?" Silence answered me, heavy and suffocating. My heart pounded in my chest as I switched on my phone flashlight, casting a beam in front of me. The sudden light scraped across the room and fell onto something small, crouched in the corner. For a moment I was paralyzed. I blinked, trying to focus. There it was again, a shadowy figure smaller than the one I'd encountered in the attic. The wide, dark eyes stared back at me, glistening like polished stones in the light. My breath caught in my throat as recognition hit me, the same face, the same fear. Suddenly a crash echoed from the kitchen, metal clattering against the tile. My instincts screamed at me to leave, but I couldn't tear my gaze away from the figure. Instead, I took a cautious step closer. My heart raced, uncertain whether this was a ghost or a desperate spirit reliving its last moments. In a softer tone, I asked, "Are you trapped?" My voice was barely a whisper now, trembling as I put the pieces together. I had to understand what had happened to this child. But before I could probe further, the figure lunged forward, rushing into the darkness past me. Frozen in fear, I turned just in time to see the shadow slip through the kitchen doorway. The noise returned, louder now, mixed with a soft chant, "Megan! Megan!" echoing in harmonies that sliced through the air. My heart raced. I wanted to run, to hide, but I felt a surge of anger pushing me forward. "Stop!" I shouted, clenching my fists. "What do you want from me?" In that moment, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the living room. My breath caught again, but this time it was for an entirely different reason. That's when I saw it. A small doll laying on the floor where the figure had stood. Its eyes were as dark as the abyss from which the figure had emerged, and it looked eerily familiar, like something I once owned. I took a step back, my mind racing. What was going on? The questions swirled around me like a storm, and the realization settled in with a new wave of dread. I had to confront the truth about this restless spirit. But what if the truth was more terrifying than I could bear? I stared at the doll, frozen in disbelief. It was a replica of the one I lost when I was a child, my most cherished possession, the one I had buried deep in the attic after it had become too frayed. How could it be here? A cold wave of dread washed over me as I knelt down, the soft thud of my knees against the floor grounding me. The doll's eyes seemed to follow me, watching with a calm intensity. I picked it up gingerly, brushing off dust that had accumulated during the years. Memories flooded back, afternoons spent in my bedroom, laughter mingling with whispers of secrets shared with a friend who was never really there. I had always pretended it spoke to me, giving me advice, telling me stories. I squeezed it, hoping for some sense of comfort, but instead felt an emptiness gnawing at my insides. I glanced toward the kitchen, where the strange noises had come from. My heart thudded in my chest, a mix of fear and curiosity. What if the spirit wanted me to find something? What if the doll was a clue? I placed the doll on the coffee table. It felt too significant to just carry around. I hesitated at the kitchen entryway. Taking a shaky breath, I stepped through. The room was eerily quiet, no dishes misplaced, no signs of a struggle, but an overwhelming sense of wrongness hung in the air, pressing down on me. As I scanned the space, I noticed something glimmering between the floor tiles near the sink. I crouched down, my stomach twisting with anticipation. It was a small metal key, the kind that looked old and heavy, its surface tarnished with time. I picked it up, feeling its weight in my palm. Before I could ponder its significance, the lights flickered again, and then everything went dark once more. Panic surged through me as the chanting returned, clearer now, more insistent. "Megan! Megan!" I pressed my back against the wall, the key slipping from my fingers as I whimpered softly. It felt like someone was standing right beside me, breathing, watching. In the pitch black, I hastily reached for my phone, desperately flicking it on. The glow seemed weaker than before, illuminating only a few feet in front of me. The chanting stopped abruptly, replaced by a shuffling sound, like footsteps approaching. My heart raced, each beat echoing in my ears. "Megan!" The voice was now a mere whisper, and it curled around me in tendrils of ice. "Help!" Every instinct screamed at me to flee, yet I couldn't move. What was it that needed my help? I squeezed my eyes shut, as if that could shield me from the terror. When I opened them, the light from my phone flickered, revealing the outline of the figure, now closer than before. Standing just outside the beam of light, I could barely make out the child's features, the same wide eyes locked onto mine, conveying a mixture of fear and longing. "Please," the voice breathed once again, this time sounding softer, more fragile. I took a cautious step forward, my voice trembling as I asked, "What do you need me to do?" Then, without warning, a crashing sound erupted from the direction of my bedroom. It was so loud, so violent, that I jumped back, fear wrapping around me like a vice. I knew I had to decide, to confront this entity that had haunted me since childhood, or to run away, leaving all of it behind. Panic swelled within me. Whatever dwelled in the dark was closing in, and the choice lay heavy on my heart. I steeled myself, knowing that whatever I found in my bedroom could change everything. With a deep breath, I moved toward the hallway, the shadows stretching toward me, whispering secrets I had yet to uncover. As I stepped into the hallway, unease crawled over my skin. The sound of my heartbeat thudded in my ears, drowning out the silence. With each step toward my bedroom, I felt the oppressive darkness wrap around me, tangible and smothering. I reached the door, its familiarity now disturbing. The crashing sound echoed again, sharper this time, like something heavy being thrown. I clenched my fists, readying myself as I pushed the door open. My bedroom was a mess. The bedspread lay crumpled, a chair overturned. The air felt charged, electric, as if something was waiting just beyond my sight. "Megan!" The voice again, plaintive, reverberated in my mind. It's right here, I could almost feel it. The key I had found flashed in my mind's eye, the shape of it whispering that it meant something important. I took a step inside, my foot crunching on something. I glanced down, and there it was, the doll again discarded at the foot of my bed, its eyes gleaming in the dim light. It seemed impossibly out of place, like a dark omen tainting my memories. I felt drawn to it, even as chills raced down my spine. "Why are you here?" I whispered to it, heart pounding. There was no answer, just the stillness that followed my question. Then I heard it again, the soft whisper rising above the silence. This time it was more urgent, stronger. "Help! Me!" My breath caught. Was the doll somehow linked to whatever was calling out to me? Was it a signal to me, a plea for attention? I felt a pull toward the window, where the moonlight streamed in, illuminating the chaos in the room. I wandered over and pulled the curtain back just enough to look out. The street below was empty, desolate. Suddenly I heard another noise, not from outside, but from the far side of the room. I turned sharply to see a shadow forming just beside the dresser. It hovered there, indistinct yet present. My stomach dropped. I didn't just see it, I felt it watching me. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice shaking. The figure remained still, as if pondering my words. My heart raced. I could almost see the contours of a childlike face in the darkness. Then I noticed something, a glint, like the key I had found. Only this was different. It looked like a small locket dangling from the figure's grasp. "Come closer," the shadow urged, the voice more fragmented, like someone desperately trying to reach through a barrier. "Please." Before I could think, I lunged forward instinctively. My fingers grazed the raw surface of the dresser, and in that moment, everything became chaotic. The lights flickered and then exploded into darkness. I stumbled back, heart racing wildly. The room was engulfed in shadow, but I could still feel it, the cold, clammy air wrapping around me. Panic set in once more, and I fumbled for my phone. As I switched it back on, the light beamed weakly into the room, cutting through the dark like a knife. But the shadow was gone. I stared into the empty corner, a swelling tide of dread pooling in my stomach. All that remained was the lingering echo of that desperate plea. Maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe fear was playing tricks. Then I remembered the glinting locket. "What was that?" I muttered to myself. I turned back toward the door, ready to leave the chaos behind, when I noticed something on the floor. There, just beyond the threshold, was a small, shimmering object. I bent down to pick it up, my hands trembling with uncertainty. As I grasped it, I gasped. It was the locket from my childhood, the one I thought I'd lost forever. A breath caught in my throat. The connection was clearer now. Whatever was haunting me was only beginning to reveal its purpose. What had I stumbled into? And more importantly, what did it want from me? I had to find out. The next morning I sat on the edge of my bed, the locket cold in my palm. Memories flooded back. Summers spent playing with Sarah, my childhood friend. We had buried secrets in the backyard, made silly promises under the stars, and stumbled over our words as we whispered our dreams. But the locket had been the most treasured of all, a promise of unbreakable friendship. I almost forgot the dark part. It had gone missing the day she disappeared. Taking a steady breath, I rose, the locket feeling like a weight now. I had to confront this. I needed to know if the shadow I saw was connected to Sarah. I grabbed my phone and called her family. Maybe they had answers. The unsettling thought echoed in my mind. What if Sarah was trying to reach me? "Hello?" Her mother's voice came through, tight and uncertain. "Hi, Mrs. Thompson, it's Megan." My voice wavered. I was wondering about Sarah. Silence lingered on the line. I could almost hear Mrs. Thompson's internal struggle. "What did you want to know, dear? Is there anything strange you've noticed since she disappeared?" There was a heavy pause, and my heart raced. Finally she spoke, her voice low. "Weird things happen sometimes, Megan. Sometimes I think she's still here, trying to tell me something. I keep hearing whispers in the night." The words sent chills racing down my spine. "I heard that too. Just last night," I admitted. "Do you still have that old doll we used to find in her room? She was so attached to that thing, spoke to it like it was a friend." "Yes, I found it in my room," I replied, suddenly recalling the doll's lifeless eyes and the feeling of being watched. "Megan, please be careful," her voice trembled. "I don't know what's happening, but I feel like it's connected." After I hung up, a sense of urgency kicked in. I paced the room, mind racing. What did she mean by connected? Was Sarah at peace, or was something tying her to this world? That's when I heard it again, a faint, echoing voice drifting from the corner of my room. "Help! Me!" I spun back to the doll, a hollow feeling simmering beneath the surface. The locket felt heavier as I walked toward it, and panic gnawed at my stomach. I was so close to uncovering something significant. But what would happen if I did? Suddenly the lights flickered, then steadied again. I glanced toward the window and my breath hitched. Outside, a figure stood at the edge of my yard. Dressed in white, it was impossibly still. "Who is it?" I whispered, voice barely audible. I wasn't alone in my house, but the dread creeping through my veins held me still. I fought the urge to bolt. Instead, I moved forward to get a better view. The figure turned just as I reached the window. A flicker of recognition chilled me to my core. It looked like Sarah, but before I could process that, she lifted a hand, pointing solemnly at my bedroom door. I glanced back at the door, an unfamiliar urgency coursing through me. What did she want? Then it hit me. The room felt colder. Something was definitely wrong, and the shadow would soon reveal itself. I had to know what it was trying to tell me. The cold air pressed around me as I tried to focus on Sarah's figure outside. I wanted to shout her name, but my voice felt swallowed by the heavy silence. I took a step toward the door, nerves surging, but I hesitated. Was she really out there, or was it some twisted trick of my mind? As I stood paralyzed, the soft voice drifted again, more urgent this time. "Help! Me!" It echoed like a haunting melody, pulling me closer to a mystery I was terrified to unravel. I forced myself to breathe, trying to drown out the fear that swelled inside me. With a shuddering breath, I turned back to the window, but the figure was gone. I blinked, my heart racing in my chest. The yard was empty, shadows stretching across the grass as the evening sun dipped lower. There was no time to second-guess. I glanced again at the doll, its glassy eyes glimmering in the dim light. I swallowed hard, thrusting a hand into my pocket to grip the locket. If I was going to figure this out, I had to act. I walked toward the door, each step echoing in the stillness of my room. When I reached for the handle, a sudden chill shot through the air. The lights flickered again, and I gripped the knob tighter, forcing myself to twist it open. The hallway was dark, and an oppressive quiet filled the space. "Sarah?" I called softly, voice shaking. I stepped out, each creak of the floorboard muffled. "Is that you?" No response. I moved slowly, searching for answers in the shadows. Maybe I could retrace our old steps, relive what we'd shared. I headed toward the backyard, where we used to play. With every step I felt an unsettling pull to where we had buried our secrets. It was strange how everything looked the same, yet different. The swing set creaked softly in the breeze. The old oak tree stood tall, its branches whispering secrets I couldn't decode. As I stepped closer, my mind flared with flashes of memories. That's when I saw it, a small glint in the grass. I bent down, heart thudding. It was a shard of something shiny, partially buried. I dug it out and gasped. It was a piece of Sarah's broken bracelet, the one she used to wear everywhere. My hands trembled. "What does this mean?" I whispered, feeling the weight of the moment settle around me. Just then, I felt a rush of air, cold and sharp. I spun around but saw nothing. The feeling lingered, knotting in my stomach. Had I disturbed something? Or had I triggered her memory? The quiet returned, but now it felt charged, as if the air itself were holding its breath. I could sense that I was on the edge of something bigger. The shadows danced, and for a moment I felt like I was being watched. Then, without warning, everything went dark. The lights in the house flickered out completely, plunging the yard into an abyss. My heart raced, panic gripping me. "Sarah?" My voice trembled into the silent void. A louder whisper seized the air. "Megan, come. Find me." I knew then I had to dig deeper. Whatever was happening, whatever Sarah needed, it was just starting, and I couldn't turn back now. I stood frozen in the dark, an icy dread wrapping around me. Everything felt too quiet, like the world was waiting to spring forward. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the chaos in my mind. "Find me?" I murmured to myself. What did she want from me? I needed light. I felt my way back toward the house, heart pounding. My fingers brushed against the rough wood of the doorframe until I found the wall switch. With a flick, nothing happened. The power was completely out. Frustration welled up inside me, but I couldn't let it control me. I moved slowly, searching for my phone in my pocket, the only source of light I had. I pulled it out, but the screen flickered weakly, only to die before my eyes. "Great," I whispered. I was now completely cut off from the world. Urgency surged within me. Sarah needs me. I stumbled back outside, my eyes adjusting to the inky darkness. The cold summer air bit at my skin, but the chill had nothing on the apprehension roiling in my stomach. I approached the old oak tree again. My mind raced with thoughts of memories mixed with dread. It felt like she was waiting for me, just beyond my reach. I crouched down, running my fingers over the blades of grass, feeling for any other remnants of her. Then I heard it, a soft rustling sound breaking through the silence. I straightened up, straining to listen. The noise came again, sounding closer this time. "Is someone there?" I shouted, my voice echoing across the dark yard. No answer, only silence punctuated by the distant hoot of an owl. But the rustling continued, now accompanied by a faint echo of a giggle, a sound impossibly familiar. My stomach twisted as I thought of the time Sarah and I had dressed up as witches, laughing until our cheeks hurt. I moved closer to the sound, each step an act of defiance against my growing fear. "Sarah," I called again, almost pleading. "Is that you?" A flash of movement caught my eye, darting behind the oak tree. My heart raced. I edged forward, carefully navigating the roots that twisted up from the ground. The air felt dense, heavy with anticipation. I could feel the presence around me, almost tangible. Suddenly something, a child's laugh, echoed around me. It wasn't just my imagination, it was real. Adrenaline surged. I could almost see her face, shining with mischief and delight. The laughter faded, replaced by an eerie stillness. "Megan, come play." The chill deepened in my bones. "Sarah," I called one last time, desperation spilling from my lips. The air thickened with uncertainty, as if the night itself held back its breath. Then I felt it, a soft pull at my arm, as if a gentle hand was guiding me deeper into the shadows. I froze, my heart hammering. Just like that, I was no longer alone. "What do you want from me?" I whimpered, instinctively tugging my arm away. In that moment, my phone flickered back to life, the screen glowing brightly. Time stopped as I caught a glimpse of something. A figure standing behind the tree, shrouded in darkness. I turned to run, but the ground was unsteady beneath my feet. I tripped, the light from the phone illuminating the yard for just a heartbeat, and then everything went dark again as the laughter rose to a chilling crescendo. I couldn't figure out what was real anymore. I had to find Sarah, no matter the cost. I needed answers. The air was thick and unyielding as I gathered myself off the ground. My heart raced wildly in my chest, while the laughter faded into a disconcerting stillness. I didn't know where I was anymore, lost between memories and some twisted reality. With shaky breaths, I stood up straight, my resolve pressing me forward despite the oppressive fear. It felt wrong to turn back now, especially after the encounter in the yard. I thought of Sarah and the laughter that once brought joy. I couldn't let terror stop me from uncovering the truth. "Find me," I whispered into the darkness, an incantation to spark the courage woven deep within me. As I stepped deeper into the shadows, a patter of tiny footsteps flitted just beyond my reach. "Sarah," I called, hoping against hope that she would respond. Suddenly the temperature dropped, and the wind whispered my name, a taunting echo beckoning me forward. My fingers brushed against the rough, damp bark of the old oak as I moved around it. In its gnarled roots, I noticed something nestled against the earth, a small wooden box half buried. My pulse quickened as I knelt, heart racing with anticipation. "Please, let this be it," I implored quietly. As I tugged it from the ground, I felt a quiver in the air, a presence stirring around me. The box was surprisingly heavy as I opened it, revealing a collection of trinkets, what looked to be a locket, a fuzzy teddy bear, and a few hastily scribbled notes. My breath caught in my throat as I picked up the locket, recognizing it as the one that had been missing, its golden surface dulled with age. The notes held fragments of memories, thoughts scribbled in Sarah's delicate handwriting. They spoke of thoughts she never shared, of dreams and fears wrapped in the innocence of childhood. Each word resonated with familiarity. I could almost hear her voice blend with the echoes of laughter. "Oh, Sarah, where are you?" I thought, anguish lacing my voice. The temperature plummeted even further, feeling like hands of ice grasping my waist. I sat back on my heels, confronted by an overwhelming rush of emotions, sorrow, love, and unexplainable longing. "What do you need from me?" I whispered again, fighting the lump forming in my throat. As I held the locket in my hands, darkness swirled, creating shadows that danced at the corners of my vision. The presence next to me felt alive, palpable, creating a feeling of urgency. "Megan, let me go," a voice echoed faintly, more a thought than a sound. Chills raced down my spine. This couldn't be real. Something gripped my heart, for I recognized the voice. It was hers. "Let go of what?" I called out, desperation rising. "What do you want me to do?" "I'm here. I need to be free." The voice faded, yet I felt the echo of a presence drawing closer. I couldn't bear the thought of losing her all over again, but a part of me longed to help whatever was keeping our connection veiled in darkness. The ground shifted, and the trees seemed to throb as if pulsing with ancient magic. Caught between worlds, I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, summoning all the strength inside me. "We were best friends, Sarah. Whatever is keeping you here, let me help." A surge of warmth flowed through me, urging me to dig deeper, to let go of the fear. Suddenly, bright light surged from the locket, illuminating everything, chasing away shadows and enveloping me in warmth. I felt a gentle yet insistent push at my heart, a violent urge to open myself entirely to her. "Do it!" I screamed into the void. "I'm here!" The shadows retreated like a breath released. A rush of air swirled around me, and the temperature returned to normal, leaving me gasping in shock. A fleeting presence passed before me, a flash of light, and then I saw her. Sarah, glowing softly like a fading dream, smiled through shimmering tears, her eyes locking onto mine. "Thank you," she whispered, a gentle caress lacing every word. The world around us began to shimmer, and I felt the connection overwhelming. But then, just as swiftly, she began to fade, dissolving like mist, leaving me alone in the backyard. I collapsed to the earth, breathless. The box slipped from my hands, landing softly near my knees, and I stared at Sarah's empty space as tears streamed down my cheeks. I fought the desperation clawing at my heart. I had reached her. I had felt her presence, yet it wasn't over. The shadows danced back, playful and free, buoyed by a newfound lightness. I realized I had released something dark, something tethered for too long, but the questions still lingered. What truly happened to Sarah? What did it mean that she was free? As I sat there, breathing deeply, the echoes of laughter, the giggles, the whispers, carried on the wind just beyond my reach, a reminder of what I had lost, but also what I had reclaimed. I still find it hard to explain those nights, the thin line between my imagination and reality. The box remained there, an artifact of memories entwined with shadows of the past. Whatever lingered in the old oak had shifted. Even now, long after experiencing it all, the memories still resonate in me, and I can't help but wonder. Was it truly Sarah that night, or just a reflection of my own heartache. Sometimes in quiet moments I still hear the laughter, beckoning me to remember, hints of something left behind, echoes of friendship wrapped in mystery. I wonder, will I ever know the truth?